The ChatGPT platform by OpenAI has taken the entire AI industry by storm. And there are many fun videos, interesting videos which have come by in the last few weeks. In fact, it touched 1 million users in less than a month, probably breaking the records of most of the social media platforms which have ever existed. And it is just beginning. There is so much fun to do. And since it's a release, I've laid my hands on it to see what possibilities or what things you can actually do on the platform, which is making me loving the platform more and more. Definitely, I have my own perspectives in terms of the 3 things which I worry about or I need to think about on the application of the platform, which is making, this entire conversation very interesting. And I want to share what I've learned, what I see as possible use cases, what have I done with it, what am I trying to do with it, and what experiments I have done on the platform, and where do I see this platform scaling in the future. Hopefully, this video is helpful for you. And if you like this content, please hit subscribe, like, and more importantly, create that notification for this channel so that you can watch and content which I keep releasing every week. So coming back to the ChatGPT platform and talking less about myself, it's intriguing as an individual who's been in the industry that long language models, which we've been speaking earlier this year, how it can have a potential impact within the industry has become real for us. Though this is still an early stage, there is so much potential which this platform specifically, which is the ChatGPT platform, has for all of us. To kind of go deeper into it and share my perspective of what ChatGPT is, I've written down certain perspective. So ChatGPT is an improved GPT-3 model which has been trained on an existing reinforcement model, which humans are in the loop. And that's a very interesting thing. Today we talk about how AI can actually take over the jobs of human beings and how AI can actually replace what humans possibly can do in the future. But interestingly, this model which has been released, or this platform which has been released, it has kept human in the loop. So you would see the message when I show you the demo of the platform. It is actually capturing and it is actually having the humans in the loop and allowing humans to learn how people like us who are interacting with the platform on a daily basis is able to learn and correct the mistakes and make the model much more stronger as the platform continues to scale. And for any AI, you actually need labeled data. And in this case as well, there are about 40 labelers which provide demonstration of the desired model behavior, which is also very interesting perspective, which has been baked into the entire ChatGPT platform. And people often ask, okay, how is this entire platform trained? How did this model or how did this AI engine really come about? So actually there are 3 steps. I'm trying to simplify it for all of you. So the first step is that they have collected a lot of data sets which are human written, and they are prompted and submitted through the API, and use these, what I would call the supervised models, based on the questions and the answers which the humans have provided, for the model to learn and provide more answers in the future, which the model can demonstrate and be close to accurate rather than coming up with some gibberish words. The next piece, which is the second step, all these data sets which are collected, which are human labeled, are then compared to the model outputs. So basically there is test and learn happening on what the model provided versus what the human provided, and between those they are actually compared, and if there is any mistakes, if the model is throwing out or if it's not making sense, then the models are refined and the labeling is getting better, or the labels are made better so that the model can provide a better output. So there is a constant learning which is happening, and there is a lot of loops which are built into the plan, and that's why with so many users now putting their hands into it, experimenting with it, actually leveraging it for different use cases, which I will talk about, is making the platform slow because it's not built for scale yet. And you can see those messages when we see on the platform that it shows that, hey, our platform is still in the beta mode and there's a lot to be done. And the third step, which is the very interesting piece, which has also been built in, is the reward mechanism. And what is this reward mechanism, or is called the reward function? The model has been trained to give a reward. So think about, we as human beings, when we take a right step, whether in our schools or whether as grown-ups, we are often rewarded for the right steps. Same way, the GPT-3 model or the policies is there to maximize the rewards, maximize the output, so that it always ensures that it is rewarded for the right steps, it is rewarded for the correct answers, and more importantly, it allows you to look at things which are more real rather than creating some nonsensical or gibberish words. So that's a little bit about ChatGPT in terms of how it has been built. But if I take it a step further, and there are three dimensions when I look at ChatGPT. The first dimension, which all of us should consider, is I'm a big believer in AI. I believe strongly that today AI can actually augment human capabilities, and in this case also, I strongly believe that the ChatGPT model has certain aspects which can really benefit, can really enhance the human capability. So first thing is, it can actually have real conversations. It can understand pronouns. It can understand the meaning of the language. It can be consistent. More importantly, it can hold a conversation for a longer time. And what I mean by that is, the previous models or the previous conversations you might have had with chatbots or with any of those bots, the language models which have existed, they're able to have 1 or 2 level of conversation. But once I show you the actual demo, you would be able to see it can hold the conversation for a longer time. It does fail because they're still in the beta mode, but it can hold those conversations further. And you can have a conversation with the model as if you're having conversation with a human being, actually. The second piece, it can almost become your personal assistant. When I say personal assistant, it's no longer about asking basic questions which you might have with the smart devices, but you can actually have diets being planned. You can have your questions being answered, which are always there on top of your mind. You want to go deeper in a specific topic, and it almost feels like a human being, and where you are engaging with a person, and it almost becomes a personal assistant or something you want to know more about details. The third thing is, which I've tried, is you can actually build your SEO strategy based on the domain or the brand you have. You can actually build your SEO strategy. It also not only helps you build your SEO strategy, it also helps you create those backlinks. It can build content or give you recommendation on content on the targeted keywords or the group of people you're trying to focus on. And last but not the least is, you actually can make it really professional. I've tried it, I've experimented it, and I was really amazed by the level of proficiency it had. And interestingly, it can also augment your creativity. So if you're a writer, or if you want to write a fictional story, or if you want to write a song, it can actually write a rap song like any rap artist. If you give it a prompt, you want to give a theme and you want to use certain style of a famous rap artist, it can actually do that, and it will allow you to leverage that platform effectively to create a song, an original song. And you never know, probably in the next 1 month or 2 months, we may hear a song by a rap artist who's actually leveraged the platform to build a rap song, and it probably becomes a hit worldwide. So those are the good part. There are some weird parts to it also, and there's already talks about it in the industry. One, it looks like it can potentially change or actually disrupt of how Google search functions, or actually the basic questions which we ask Google today. ChatGPT 3 actually can allow you to do that. Potentially, if it gets enterprise ready, it can have threat to the customer service agents which exist within the organization. Within your organization, if you have a service desk to solve your basic IT or your HR or your payroll or any of those platforms or those departments, it has a potential to replace people to have those basic questions or profound questions being answered on a daily basis. And last but not the least, it can replace, and that's the biggest threat, that there are so many companies who built their business around designing chatbots or conversational platforms, they are under a threat, candidly. Now, definitely the OpenAI has an API which you can access as an enterprise, and I'm sure companies will be thinking about how do they bring that aspect within their the conversation platforms. But think about, if I'm an enterprise and I'm looking to build a conversational platform, why would I go through somebody else? And if I have those capabilities, I definitely can use the ChatGPT. So there is that weirdness on these three dimensions. But while there is weirdness, there is some worry as well in my mind. So the first thing is actually ChatGPT, and I'll show you the example, can debug codes. So if you think about today, when you are trying to deploy AI code or a machine learning code within a company, and you may have QA engineers as part of your DevOps structures or DevOps infrastructure, you may get replaced because today ChatGPT allows you to decode those codes. So there are some limitations, but it can do a good, I would say, basic to intermediary kind of coding, which is far more interesting in the longer run. Second thing is, definitely there are, it's still not enterprise ready. So, but if it does get to that stage, it can have, and companies can be, and there are companies who are smart enough to figure out the use cases. So there can be a lot of threat to future jobs. It is still naive. It is still, I would say, early stages or early days for ChatGPT. So really thinking about, okay, what can be the complex fundamentals which you can think about from a use cases, it's still not there. But if you really put your heart and mind behind it, they will be able to really scale that up. Last but not the least, there are other more worries, which is more generic, but kind of not a threat to human beings, but it's a threat or things which can get a little weird and worrisome in the long run. First is, let's say if you are in a conversation and it throws out some nonsense or gibberish, it can work in two ways. So the first, if you are smart enough and you feel that the platform has thrown some gibberish or nonsense content, you may not use it as a user and saying, hey, this platform is wrong. On reverse, if you're not that smart enough and you do not know enough about the topic, so let's say somebody who's to my earlier conversation where you think about going on a weight loss program, like let's say me, if I'm naive about what I should eat and not eat, and I've not given it enough input, then I can take that in its literal sense, thinking, oh, it's AI, so it might have gone ahead and learned from many different platforms or from many data points, and it has built its own custom dietary program for me. It can get scary. It can have a real life-threatening situation. And more importantly, it's still so early. The adoption at a large scale for use cases can get scary also. So I would put that word of caution in terms of how you look at it strategically, and how do you deploy it. I would still recommend, it's still early days, and for long language models, which are also called the LLM in the industry, is still early, but definitely it has a lot of potential. It can have a bigger impact. And I'm pretty excited on what OpenAI has done, and I'm a big believer in open innovation, and they've actually opened this platform for all the users. If you've not accessed it, I would highly recommend you to do that. And I want to give you some demos. So if you look at the platform, so I will not get to the login. There are enough content out there which shows how you can create your own login. So I've created my own login. And as you can see from the platform itself, it kind of gives you a little bit overview about what are the examples of the kind of questions you can ask, the capabilities and certain limitations, which is good. It is giving you those limitations which the platform has. So for the simplicity's sake, I'm going to use the platform to click on an example which is recommended. It's one of the first 3 questions which the platform tells, okay, you can ask. So here is a question which I've asked from, I don't have a 10-year-old, I have an 11-year-old, and the birthday is going to coming soon. So I'm, asked a basic question, and it is throwing certain options for me or ideas, which often as parents, we are trying to understand, and we may not be able to come up with ideas pretty quick, but you can just see it's given some very interesting 5 ideas which I can double click on and I can continue this conversation. But I tried this question much earlier and it gave me a different answer altogether. So which was interesting that as a user, or 2 people asking the same question may not get the same answer out, which is also interesting. It's not like a cookie cutter or a canned response which I can see from this platform. But to take it a further step ahead, and this is something which I was playing around and I've been playing around, is let's say if I'm not a data scientist and I don't know how to write Python codes, and I want to understand, and I'm still a beginner, so I've given a basic input to it. What is a Python code for coding an image? And let's see. As you can see, it's loaded a Python code for loading and displaying an image. Now, this is where it becomes very interesting. It is not only giving me a code, but it also helps me understand and also gives me further recommendations what I should consider or what I should look at when I'm writing the code. And if I want to take this forward, and this is what I was talking about being conversational, is if I would like to get emotions from the image, what is the code? And you can see that I didn't have to type in Python. In this case, it already understood that I'm already asked that question, and this is what holding the conversation means, is as if I'm talking to a human being, and it's giving me the input in this case of what I should be looking at and what I should be and helping me take one step at a time. Now, I'm not going to stop here. I will show you where I can take it to the next level. And you can see it's also giving me certain caution in the last statement where, the code may not work because, my parameters may be different or my input may be different. So I will need to take care of that. Now, further building on it, what platform would I be able to use? Or let's change this. What cloud provider would I be able to use effectively for image processing? And as you can see, it's not giving me a definitive answer. Like a human being, it's giving me options, and definitely it's dependent upon me on what options do I use. But as you can see, it's not only giving me options, but it is giving me the pros and cons, and also giving me a little bit more details about each of these platforms. And let's play with this platform a little bit more further. What is the most cost effective out of the 3 options you provided? Now, I didn't tell which cloud provider, or I didn't say what cost am I looking at or for what in this case. And again, in this situation, it's again being, I would say, politically right and not favoring any one of the providers in this case. And it's giving me a direction, but not giving me a definitive answer, which is interesting. So yeah, I can go deeper, and I can go and ask different questions. So let's say if I want to move away from this and I want to go into a very different direction, which is what is the applications for quantum computing. And I have completely changed the conversation topic now. And I have moved from Python to cloud to image processing to a very different topic, which is quantum computing in this case. And as you can see, it has, changed the direction of the conversation. And, it's as if feels like we are having a conversation over coffee or having a conversation over a drink. And it's just getting interesting right now. Let's again change it and see if it works effectively, or it's going to crash on me, and I'm trying to crash it to see if it gives me any of those errors. What are the fun facts of 2022? Now, this is a very interesting question which I was asked. Now, so as you can see, it's refraining itself to do any predictions in the future. It is also sharing with me very openly that it has only done content, or it has been trained on data till 2021. So the platform is unaware about the fun facts of 2022 and is not able to predict 2023. There is a lot to be done. There are a lot of fun use cases. I just shared some of the ones which were personal, something which was very technical, and the other one was more about playing with the system and trying to break it or try to ask some questions which are over the top. But here you can see it's kind of giving out a very interesting answer. Hopefully, this small content around the ChatGPT really help you understand the potential. If you have any thoughts, if you have any perspectives on this platform, if you have any questions you want me to double click on, if you want me to go further into this platform or explain some concepts which I have covered at a high level, do drop in your comment or send me an email, and I'll be happy to talk to you and engage with you and interact with you as this platform evolves. And hopefully, probably a month or 2 months down the line, I may make a content which may be very different. And probably the platform, as it continues to learn from the inputs which we as users are providing, it gets more richer and better. So hopefully I'm able to cover that content in the future. I hope you stay safe and be blessed. Take care.